Angel Reese, the biggest designated rival to Caitlin Clark, the player who the media desperately tried to sell to us as the other half of a modern-day Magic Johnson and Larry Bird dynamic was just traded away by the Chicago Sky. And the people out there who are still calling Caitlin Clark a product of the media, or someone who is just overhyped, or a player who simply got lucky with her situation, are completely and utterly missing the point of what just happened. Everyone is looking at the headlines, but nobody is talking about the terrifying reality behind this trade. Caitlin Clark just had her greatness validated in the most brutal way possible on national television, and instead of defending the player who was supposed to be her ultimate nemesis, her own league went completely silent. The truth they do not want you to see is hidden right there in the transaction logs. If you stay with me until the very end of this breakdown, you are going to find out exactly why the media narrative around Caitlin Clark has been built on a massive half-truth. You will discover the one specific statistic that completely shatters the illusion of the greatest rebounding record in the history of the league. And most importantly, you will understand the real reason why. What is happening to Caitlin Clark right now matters so profoundly for the future of women's sports, and trust me, it is so much bigger than just basketball. Quick note before we dive into the deep end of this ocean, everything you are about to hear is based on publicly available information, verified reports from inside the locker rooms, and our own grueling film and data analysis. This channel is not affiliated with Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, or the Women's National Basketball Association. We are not here to take sides in some imaginary culture war. All opinions expressed are strictly for entertainment and informational purposes. We respect every single player who steps onto that hardwood, but we are just here to break down what the numbers and the game tape actually say. And right now, the tape is screaming something that no one wants to admit. Let us set the scene. It was a quiet Tuesday morning. No major press conferences were scheduled, no massive dramatic buildup, just a standard transaction wire update that hit the internet and completely paralyzed the basketball world. The Chicago Sky traded away Angel Reese, a two-time All-Star, the woman who shattered the single-season rebounding record, a walking double-double, gone just like that. Moved to the Atlanta Dream for a package of future draft picks that will not even see the light of day until 2027 and 2028. Now, if you know anything about the business of professional basketball, you know that when a genuine generational franchise cornerstone hits the open trade market, the phone lines in the front office literally catch on fire. General managers do not sleep. They throw multiple protected first-round picks, established veterans, and their own young stars into massive bidding wars just to secure a meeting. When Breanna Stewart was looking to move, the entire landscape of the league shifted. But when Chicago quietly put the ultimate double-double queen on the trading block, what happened? 28 other professional basketball franchises evaluated her film, looked at her analytics, reviewed her locker room history, and collectively decided to turn off their phones. There was no bidding war. There was no desperate scramble to acquire her. The silence from the rest of the league was absolutely deafening. And that silence is the most honest, brutal, and accurate market valuation that Angel Reese has ever received. The internet immediately erupted, screaming that Chicago got robbed, that they traded a superstar for a bag of stale potato chips. But they are completely blind to what actually happened. Chicago did not lose this trade. They won it. Because what they got back does not show up on a spreadsheet. They won their locker room back. They won their culture back. To truly understand why 28 teams refuse to give up real assets for a player who averages a double-double, we have to pull back the curtain on the greatest statistical illusion in the modern era of the game. Let us talk about the numbers, because this is where the casual fans get completely lost. The surface numbers look incredible. Double-doubles every single night, rebounds falling out of the sky. But if you take just one step beyond the basic box score, the entire narrative violently collapses. Let us look at her shooting efficiency. In the 2024 season, operating almost exclusively within 5 feet of the basket, Angel Reese shot 39% from the floor. Let that sink in for a second. 39%. We are not talking about a guard who is forced to create her own shot off the dribble with the shot clock expiring. We are not talking about a wing player pulling up from 30 feet with a hand in her face. We are talking about a post player whose entire offensive existence is based around catching the ball on the low block, taking one power dribble, and laying it up. For a player in that specific role, shooting 39% is not just bad, it is catastrophic. It is a siren blaring in every film room across the country. She nudged that number up to 42% in 2025, and her defenders paraded that around as if she had suddenly transformed into Shaquille O'Neal. But 42% for a traditional big is still a percentage that tells every defensive coordinator exactly how to guard her. And it gets worse. Her three-point shooting percentage plummeted to 18%, not 28%, which would be terrible, not 22%, 18%. When your perimeter shot is that spectacularly broken, it stops being a weakness and becomes a strategic weapon for the opposing team. Defenders literally take 3 full steps away from her when she catches the ball outside the paint. They dare her to shoot. They pack the painted area with bodies, completely destroying any driving lanes for her teammates. She suffocates her own offense just by standing on the floor. But here is the real kicker, the secret that the hardcore fans have been whispering about all season long. The famous rebounding record, the historic game-changing double-doubles. Do you want to know how the sausage is actually made? A terrifyingly high percentage of those record-breaking rebounds came directly off of her very own missed layups. Picture this scenario. The game is tied. The shot clock is ticking down. The point guard runs a beautiful pick and roll, draws 2 defenders, and slips a perfect bounce pass to Reese on the block. She catches it in traffic. She goes up weak, tosses the ball off the bottom of the rim, and it bounces right back into her hands. She goes up again, misses again, grabs it again, and finally banks it in on the 3rd try. The box score at the end of the night says she got 1 field goal and 2 offensive rebounds. The fans cheer. The media posts a graphic about her dominance. But the basketball reality is that she just consumed 3 offensive possessions to do the job of 1. This phenomenon became so entirely predictable that fans started calling them me-bounds, not rebounds, me-bounds, because they only served her individual statistics while completely shattering the offensive rhythm of her team. There were no brilliant kick-out passes to open shooters. There were no high IQ reads out of the double team. There was just a black hole of inefficiency where offensive possessions went to die. She did not make her teammates better. She required them to sacrifice their own games so she could build a mountain of empty statistics. Now, I want you to take all of that suffocating inefficiency, all of those wasted possessions, and hold it up right next to what was happening in Indiana at the exact same time. The contrast is so sharp, it will make your eyes bleed. Caitlin Clark walked onto the professional hardwood, carrying the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. She was facing defensive schemes that were literally designed to physically break her. She was getting hit with cheap shots, blindside screens, and flagrant fouls that the referees magically forgot to blow the whistle on. And what did she do? Did she cry to the media? Did she throw her teammates under the bus? No. She put her head down, ran the offense, and broke 62 individual records in a single season. But here is the most important part, the part that proves she is a generational anomaly. Every single player who shared the floor with Caitlin Clark became a deadlier, more efficient version of themselves. Think about Kelsey Mitchell. Before Clark arrived, Mitchell was a great scorer on a bad team. With Clark running the point, Mitchell transformed into an absolute supernova. Think about Aaliyah Boston. Think about Lexi Hull, who suddenly found herself standing wide open in the corner time and time again because 3 defenders were terrified of letting Clark pull up from the logo. This is what we call gravity. When Caitlin Clark crosses half court, she pulls the defense toward her like a black hole, manipulating the geometry of the basketball court. She sees passing lanes before they even exist. She throws perfectly timed behind-the-back passes to players cutting back door. She does not just score, she engineers the entire offensive ecosystem. That is what true greatness looks like. That is what making your teammates better actually means. And when you measure the impact of Caitlin Clark against the empty calorie statistics of Angel Reese, you realize that the media sold us a rivalry that never actually existed. It was not Magic versus Bird. It was a masterclass in basketball geometry versus a player who padded her stats with her own missed shots. But the offensive struggles are only half of the tragedy. You see, bad shooting percentages can be fixed with thousands of hours in an empty gym, but you cannot fix a toxic locker room culture with a shooting coach. The basketball problems and the off-court drama did not exist in a vacuum. They fed off each other, growing into a monster that eventually devoured the Chicago sky from the inside out. Let us talk about the locker room, because this is where the story gets incredibly dark. Imagine being Courtney Vandersloot. You are a 2-time league champion. You are a 5-time All-Star. You left a championship contending team in New York specifically to come to Chicago to be a veteran presence to help build a winning culture. You tear your anterior cruciate ligament. You are sidelined doing the grueling, invisible, lonely work of physical rehabilitation. And while you are sitting there vulnerable and unable to help your team on the floor, your young teammate, Angel Reese, goes to the press. She sits in front of the microphones and the flashing cameras, and she openly states that the team cannot rely on a player of Vandersloot's age coming back from an injury. She publicly demands that the front office find someone younger, someone who actually wants to compete for a championship. She said this out loud, on the record, about a 2-time champion, while she was injured. Do you have any idea what that does to a professional locker room? In the hyper-competitive, closed-door sanctuary of a professional sports team, loyalty is the only currency that matters. When Reese violated that sacred trust, the temperature in the building permanently changed. Every single player on that roster looked at her and realized exactly who she was. They realized that the very second they stopped being useful to Angel Reese's brand, she would throw them to the wolves. That kind of betrayal does not just evaporate after a team meeting. It lingers. It poisons every film session, every team dinner, every huddle during a timeout. And it eventually broke the back of the team. Kamilla Cardoso, a brilliant young center, and the player who literally shared the painted area with Reese every single night. The player who set the screens and boxed out the bigs so Reese could get her rebounds, reportedly reached her absolute breaking point. She did not just ask for a trade. She walked out. Imagine the level of absolute frustration and exhaustion it takes to make a professional athlete walk out on her team. That is not just a disagreement. That is a fundamental collapse of professional respect. And if you are the general manager of the Chicago Sky and you are looking at your roster, you suddenly realize you have to make a choice. You can keep the empty double-doubles and the media circus, or you can keep the brilliant young center who actually plays winning basketball and does not destroy your locker room. They chose Cardoso. They chose peace. And then came the final nail in the coffin, a suspension for conduct detrimental to the team. You do not get suspended by your own front office for conduct detrimental to the team because you had one bad day at practice. You do not get that label because you missed a rotation on defense. That suspension is the absolute final resort of an organization that has tried everything else. It means there were months of closed-door meetings. It means there were warnings. It means there was a massive paper trail of insubordination and toxicity that finally reached a boiling point where the team had to officially document her behavior just to protect themselves. They suspended her. She racked up 8 technical fouls over the season. She openly criticized the team's effort in the Chicago Tribune, and eventually the front office realized that no amount of rebounding could justify the radioactive cloud that followed her into the building every day. So they packed her bags and shipped her off to Atlanta for draft picks that belong to middle schoolers right now. And now we have to look to the future. We have to look at what is about to happen in Atlanta, because the Dream just orchestrated what might be the most catastrophic team-building experiment in the history of the league. Atlanta already had an identity. They had Brittany Griner, one of the most dominant low-post forces in the history of the game. They had Brianna Jones, a physical marvel who demands touches inside the paint. Now you are dropping Angel Reese into that exact same space. Remember that 18% three-point shooting statistic we talked about earlier? This is where it becomes a nightmare. A basketball court is only 94 feet long and 50 feet wide. Space is the most valuable commodity in the modern game. If you play Griner, Jones, and Reese at the same time, you have 3 players who physically cannot score from outside of 10 feet. What do you think the defense is going to do? They are going to pack the paint so tight you could not slide a piece of paper through it. They are going to build a human wall around the basket. They will not even bother guarding Reese at the 3-point line. They will let her shoot until her arms fall off. And because the paint is completely clogged with 5 defensive players and 3 offensive bigs, Atlanta's brilliant perimeter players, Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard, are going to be completely suffocated. The driving lanes they rely on to slash to the rim will vanish. The spacing they need to operate will be gone. Atlanta traded for a player who does not just clash with their culture, she fundamentally breaks the physics of their offensive system. They bought a ticket on the Titanic, and they are celebrating while the water rushes in. And all of this chaos, all of this inefficiency, all of this drama just brings us right back to the sheer, unadulterated greatness of Caitlin Clark. While her supposed rival was burning bridges, fighting with veterans, padding stats with missed layups, and getting suspended, Clark was enduring a gauntlet of physical and emotional abuse that would have broken a lesser player. Do you remember the blindside hits? Do you remember the veterans who tried to bully her out of the league because they were jealous of the spotlight she brought with her? Do you remember the media talking heads who said she would never be able to translate her college game to the professional level? Clark did not go to the media to cry about it. She did not throw her teammates under the bus when the Fever started the season, losing game after game. She did exactly what true generational leaders do. She took the hits. She got back up. She went back to the gym. She studied the film. And she figured it out. She turned a lottery team into a playoff threat. She turned a group of role players into deadly weapons. She proved that doing the work in absolute silence will always speak louder than complaining into a microphone. There is a lesson here, a blueprint for anyone watching this who feels like the deck is stacked against them. Beyond the basketball, beyond the statistics, Caitlin Clark's story teaches us something profound about how to navigate a world that wants to see you fail. When an entire system seems designed to slow you down, when the veterans in your industry refuse to give you the respect you have earned, when the media twists your words and tries to manufacture drama out of thin air, you have a choice. You can become the victim point fingers and demand that the world change to accommodate you. Or you can be like Caitlin Clark. You can let the pressure forge you into a diamond. Pressure does not build champions. How you respond to pressure builds champions. Clark walked into a league that was hostile, carried the financial and cultural expectations of an entire sport on her back, and still showed up every single night and dropped 30-foot bombs on the heads of the people who doubted her. She did not silence her critics by arguing with them on social media. She silenced them by stepping on their throats on the basketball court. She proved that true greatness is not about how many individual numbers you can hoard for yourself. It is about how many people you can elevate along the way. So if Caitlin Clark has ever given you a moment that made you literally jump off your couch and scream at your television, I need you to drop a basketball emoji in the comments right now. Let us show the world, let us show the media, and let us show the league how many people are actually riding with her. And I want to hear your honest, unfiltered take. Do you think Caitlin Clark is finally getting the respect she deserves? Or do you think the league and the media are still trying to hold her back? Drop your opinion below. We read every single comment, and we do not delete opinions just because they are controversial. Every single comment helps this story reach more sports fans who deserve to hear the absolute, unvarnished truth, not just the sanitized headlines the big networks try to feed us. If you think the truth matters, make some noise right now. Now you know the full story of what is really happening behind the scenes of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon and the absolute disaster of the Angel Reese trade. But if you think the drama in the Chicago Sky locker room was crazy, wait until you hear the untold story of the player who literally walked out to escape it. Kamilla Cardoso went through absolute hell, and her journey makes this entire controversy look like a simple warm-up act. I already made a massive deep dive video breaking down exactly what happened to her, and trust me, you absolutely do not want to miss it. It is right there on your screen right now. Click that video and I will see you over there to uncover the next chapter of this wild story.